In the heart of a bustling metropolis where ambition frequently belies darker intentions, a tale of love and peril unfolded. Jim Jones was a charismatic and powerful man whose name echoed through the streets, yet beneath his alluring exterior lurked a network of exploitation and control. Brooke Bailey is a rising star in the fashion world whose career took off because of her persistent dedication and attractive appearance, getting the contracts and high-profile runway appearances she wanted. But when she met Jim, everything changed for her. She was first captivated by his strength and self-assurance, and they were dragged into a fast-paced romance that promised excitement and passion. As their relationship developed, Brooke became enamored with Jim's lifestyle, which included exposing her to prominent circles, upscale parties, and private events. She was thrilled and alive because of the opportunities and attention. But as time went on, the glitzy exterior began to fall apart, revealing the more sinister truths that underpinned Jim's rage. His unpredictable outbursts of love would soon degenerate into jealousy and anger, leaving Brooke feeling trapped and powerless despite his alluring charm. When Jim's son entered the scene one tragic evening, she quietly detected a rising disquiet, a hint that something was severely off. But she often found herself justifying his acts because she believed that love could fix all issues. He was a young man who had witnessed their family's anguish unfold and was enmeshed in the upheaval of his father's legacy. His early years had been altered by power, but he had witnessed the awful consequences it had on others. He knew the wickedness that hid beneath Jim's charming grin, and the son bore the weight of knowing. After a particularly furious disagreement between Brooke and Jim, the son found her alone in a quiet corner of a lavish party. His eyes were full of a mix of dread and determination, and his voice trembled with passion as he spoke. "You need to leave him," he stated, "because he knows how to break people emotionally and mentally and will make you feel like you're nothing if you don't." Brooke's heart raced as his words sent a shiver down her spine. His sincere eyes pierced her arrogance and revealed the fragility of her situation, which she had brushed aside. Rumors of danger had convinced her that she could manage Jim's unpredictable behavior, but now the gravity of his son's warning loomed like a menacing cloud, demanding her attention. Brooke struggled with her decision for weeks. Every hour she spent with Jim felt more onerous because of his control over her schedule. The glitz and glamour she had once relished began to feel like bonds binding her to a life she had lost sight of. In spite of her inner turmoil, Brooke made an effort to persuade herself that she could alter Jim and that love would be enough to patch up their differences. But the more she clung to that hope, the more she sensed the walls enclosing her, and the son's warning resounded ceaselessly, begging her to acknowledge the reality she had long disregarded. Brooke broke down after a particularly lavish party filled with laughing and clinking drinks. She watched as Jim Charles's smile captivated everyone, but she felt cold as their eyes met. She inhaled deeply because she felt caught between the reality that was suffocating her and the man she thought she loved. Brooke chose to confront Jim since she couldn't accept The next day, she found him in his office, the air heavy with unspoken words and the menace that hovered over her. "Jim, I can no longer do this." She was determined even though her voice started to falter. The encounter was explosive, and this is control rather than love. Jim became enraged when she became serious and tried to regain control of her by hurling threats and insults, but Brooks resisted, fortified by the knowledge she had gained from his son. Her individual experiences, she felt as though a weight had been lifted off her shoulders as she walked away from Jim and his world, because she now saw that the power he wielded was a facade, a mask that covered up his vulnerabilities. Even though the threat had been present, Brooke's resolve had never been stronger. She was ready to craft her own story and was taking back her narrative. Brooke launched herself into her career after discovering a new strength. Brooke's tale ultimately became one of empowerment, a reminder that even in the most dire circumstances, the courage to rise and escape is hidden beneath shadows. Although they may persist, the light of self-discovery always shines stronger. Although there were difficulties along the way, Every step she took strengthened her conviction that love should elevate rather than ensnare, illuminating the path to a future she has crafted for herself through choices made in the heart of a bustling metropolis where ambition usually masks deeper intentions. A tale of passion and peril unfolded. Jim Jones was a charismatic and powerful man whose name echoed through the streets, yet beneath his alluring exterior lurked the network of exploitation and control. Brooke Bailey is a rising star in the fashion world whose career took off because of her persistent dedication and attractive appearance, obtaining the contracts she wanted and getting well-known runway appearances. But meeting Jim transformed her life. As their relationship developed, Brooke was captivated by Jim's way of life, which included exposing her to high-profile gatherings, exclusive parties, and powerful circles. She was initially enthralled by his strength and confidence and was pulled into a fast-paced affair that promised passion and excitement, but she also felt alive and exhilarated by the attention and the chances. The glitzy exterior began to wear off over time, revealing the more sinister truths that lay underlying Jim's rage. His unpredictable outbursts of love would soon degenerate into jealousy and anger, leaving Brooke feeling trapped and powerless despite his alluring charm. However, she secretly sensed a growing unease, a whisper that something was seriously amiss, and one fateful evening Jim's son, a young man caught up in the chaos of his father's legacy, entered the picture. She often found herself defending his actions because she believed that love could solve all problems. He witnessed his family's turmoil, and although power had influenced his early years, he had also witnessed its awful consequences for other people. He knew the wickedness that lay beneath Jim's charming grin, and the son bore the weight of knowing. After a particularly heated disagreement between Brooke and Jim, the son found her alone. He spoke in a secluded corner of a grand gathering, his eyes full of a mixture of resolution and dread. He uttered the words, "You need to leave him," in a nervous voice. "I've witnessed it happen before. If you don't, he will ruin your life. He will make you feel insignificant and is skilled at shattering people's emotions and minds." Brooke's heart raced as his words sent a shiver down her spine. His sincere eyes pierced her arrogance and revealed the weakness she had written off her situation. Although she was reassured by the danger whispers that she could manage Jim's unpredictable actions, the gravity of his son's warning now loomed over her like a menacing cloud, requiring her attention. Brooke fought with her decision for weeks, and every moment she spent with Jim felt more oppressive. As memories flooded back, the sparkle and glamour she had previously relished began to feel like chains binding her to a life she no longer knew. Brooke tried to persuade herself that she could transform Jim, and that love would be sufficient to heal their relationship's wounds in spite of her internal conflict. But the more she held on to that dream, the more she felt the walls closing in around her, and the son's warning resounded incessantly, leaving her to quit Jim's control over her schedule, the manipulation that passed for love, and the separation from friends. Acknowledge the reality she had long disregarded. At a particularly lavish celebration with lots of clinking glasses and laughter, Brooke finally lost it. She watched as Jim's smile captivated the audience, but as their gazes met, she felt caught between the reality that was choking her and the guy she thought she loved.